Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce one of the nation's leaders when it comes to the field of autism. He is Dr. Joseph Holahan. And he is the chief of the Child Development Center at St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center. Good to see you, doctor.
Good, nice to meet you, too.
You told me that you got into this field 37 years ago?
Yes.
Real quick, you told me that in another conversation. You and your wife?
We met in medical school. We both went into pediatrics. I was drafted into the Army, and she joined with me, and we were privileged to do pediatrics. We worked as general pediatricians, and we learned about a whole component of pediatrics, developmental medicine, that we kind of fell in love with. We also realized what a desperate need there was for families to identify the problems their children were experiencing, to connect those children with services, and to help them to be successful in the long run.
Doctor, for those who do not know what autism is, describe it, or the so-called spectrum.
The autism spectrum is a condition in which children have two really primary concerns: problems with communicating and problems with social interaction and social participation.
Is it either or both?
It's both. It's both, and usually there are repetitive behaviors and kind of a desire to maintain sameness in their lives, routines that they're comfortable with, but quite pronounced sometimes.
How often do you find that? Because I know that early detection is important.
Absolutely.
For treatment and finding ways to be helpful for children. How challenging is it dealing with parents who potentially sometimes are resistant to a meaningful, candid discussion about what the possibilities that their child is dealing with autism?
Yeah, I know. You know, I think we appreciate that when we're working with a child, it's the most precious thing in the world to those parents. And it's very difficult for them sometimes to accept that there's something that may not be perfect with their child. And sometimes in the beginning they may not accept the diagnosis, but usually they will accept interventions and resources and work to help their children and their child to be more successful.
Describe the work of the center. The center is called?
The Binder Autism Center within the Child Development Center at St. Joseph's Children's Hospital.
Break down that work.
We have a team of developmental pediatricians whose main responsibility is to evaluate children with learning, behavior, developmental communication concerns, and identify more precisely what the concern is and help connect those children with the services they need to be successful in the long run, and to help their parents develop the skills to be the lifelong advocate for their child and helping them to negotiate.
So let's break this down with a concrete example. As our team begins to roll some video from our, I know that I happen to be watching, as I do every night, our partners at NJTV News. They're running a great story, a feature story, on what you and your colleagues were doing with a group of young people dealing with autism and their parents. There was a bowling night, I believe. Talk about this bowling event and why, in so many ways, it was such a powerful and is such a powerful tool to help these children and their parents.
One of the major lifelong concerns of parents of children on the autism spectrum is their inability to be included socially with peers, to make friends, to get out of the house, be included in the community. And we really worked at developing activities that would help the children to develop peer interactions, to improve their ability to work with other kids, to work collaboratively as part of a team, to be a good winner and a good loser sometimes, to participate. To participate, to be included. And we developed in a small autism program initially, and it's growing now. It's in a 10-week program in which the kids meet every week, and they bowl as part of a team. There are 3 teams that bowl, and the children are connected with their team. Their parents are there, but the kids are working separately from the parents.
As I was listening to the parents on that story, the great story from NJTV News, some of the parents were saying that's also a respite for them. It's an opportunity for them just to know that their kids are having a good time, they're socializing, and they get an hour or so just to get a break.
I think something that all parents want and cherish sometimes is that opportunity to sit back some and enjoy their time as parents, but to enjoy the realization that their children are doing something that's fun and meaningful.
Doctor, did you see, and if I'm wrong, you'll tell me this. There was a picture that exploded on the internet, social media picture. You may know the picture I'm talking about the young boy who was having lunch. I think it was in the Carolinas or in Florida, and there was a football player. What was it, Florida State? University of Florida State? University of Florida. Football player. They were just visiting this school. And this boy was sitting there having lunch by himself, which he often did. And this child, I believe, is dealing with autism, has autism. He would eat alone. Long story short is this player went over and sat down and started a conversation with this kid. For whatever reason, one of the counselors took a picture, posted it, and people started reacting to it. And the player just said, look, the kid was eating alone and I wanted to talk with him. And he had an engaging conversation with the kid. People reacted to that because this kid was eating alone every day, because the other kids didn't know how to interact with him. He was ostracized. After that, I'm not saying the kid's life is turned around and everything's great, but subsequent to that, a lot of what I read about it is that kids became more interested in talking to him. Am I making too much of that?
No, not at all. I think that each step in the right direction really makes a big difference. And I guess it's two things that you'd love to see. One is the child develops better confidence in their own ability to step out and participate and be included with other children, and that other children learn to respond positively to kids with special needs and see that there's something so positive and special about their child. You know, I mentioned that we help identify developmental concerns in children. We also help families see the strengths in their children.
Is that one of the primary, I'm sorry for interrupting, is that one of the primary goals of your center?
I think that one of the primary goals of every good clinician is to help their patient and their family see what's positive and strong and healthy within them and how they can use those skills to continue to improve.
37 years later, have you lost any passion for the work that you do for these children?
I have more and more every day, I think, and more exhilaration at seeing so much accomplished. I think of all of the conditions we deal with. Autism is one of the ones where early identification and early implementation of resources makes such a long-term difference in accomplishment.
Dr. Joseph Holahan, Chief, the Child Development Center, St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center. You are doing incredibly important work, and you don't need me to tell you that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
To you and your colleagues.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you, Doctor.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Berkeley College, Valley National Bank, New Jersey Resources, Create, NJM, Josh S. Weston, and by Verizon. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.